All right, guys, welcome back. I'm pumped for this one. Today, we're going over a case study of one of my most successful clients and how we completely changed her life without wasting her time. This is how Sara lost 20 plus pounds, maximized her energy, increased her lifespan and acuity, and optimized her performance without wasting her time, extreme diets, or overhauling her life. This is Sara week 1, and this is Sara week 18. Absolutely awesome progress. So who am I and why should you care? My name is Steve. I'm a performance coach who helps executives and other high performers maximize their fitness and longevity. If you're a founder or C-suite executive that struggles to balance your health with your professional life, this might be the most important piece of content you've ever watched. I coach those who have traded their health for their wealth and want to gain it back. I've coached over 1,000 clients over 10 years towards better lives, and the purpose of this video is I want to break down exactly how I do it, my exact protocol. Here's a screenshot from a conversation with Sara, and I want this to show beyond just losing weight, beyond just getting stronger in the weight room. This is an entire performance package where you will feel more like yourself than you ever have before. Unlike other coaches, I maintain a small roster of high-level clients with whom I form genuine connections, real trust, and work towards total life domination beyond just losing a few pounds. I'm confident that no one else is doing it like I am. Unlike other coaches, my protocol is deeply personal, a blended methodology of thousands of hours of coaching in a wide array of mediums. I've taken 10 years of sports performance, Olympic weightlifting, nutrition coaching, and blended it into a polished product towards total life domination. Unlike other coaches, I've developed a protocol that functions as a matrix of human wellness, takes high performers and turns them into literal apex predators. Here's a picture of me. I started this program for a pretty simple reason, honestly. I realized that most coaches and gurus completely misunderstand the demands and lives of high-performing executives. I coached over 1,000 clients towards high performance, including NHL stars, finance CEOs, award-winning actors, and a blacksmith, which to me is still the coolest job in the world. I realized high-level leaders should be treated like athletes with bespoke, holistic measures taken to help them dominate in all aspects of life. My Total Health program is an unmatched protocol I built through my own trial and error by coaching thousands of clients and becoming obsessed with human optimization. I've decided to break down the entire system for you as I built it for Sara right here. So this training is for you. This video is for you. If you are a C-suite executive, founder, or high-performing leader, you're motivated but feel burnt out, overworked, and constantly stressed. You've sold your health for your wealth, but now you want to earn it back. You're lacking agency in your schedule, routine, rhythm, your daily life. You want to lose a few pounds, gain muscle, improve your posture, look sexier with your shirt off, generally feel better physically and emotionally. You're committed to improving your performance, fitness, and nutrition, but don't want to waste your time. And probably more importantly, this video is not for you. If you are not a high-performing leader in your field, if you're just looking to drop a few pounds or firm or tone, if you're just looking for a quick fix to your problems, you're not interested in your long-term health, you cannot commit to a program that turns you into an actual Terminator in life, business, and fitness, or most commonly, you already have it all figured out. So here's the actual truth about high-level performance that I believe no one else understands. Your ability to dominate in the boardroom is utterly dependent on your health and fitness. Outcomes and inputs are deeply harmonious and enjoy reciprocal demand. Most leaders don't care for themselves because they believe suffering is necessary for success. Readiness is a global neurological state. We'll break all these down individually. Systemized, holistic protocols are the only appropriate application for CEOs because the situation merits them. The ability to excel in all facets of life is a summation of billions of decision points amalgamated into an inextricable independent network. Here's a screenshot from another client who I believe stuck with the program for a long time and saw similar results and prove that the program is a global state rather than just getting in there and doing bicep curls. And here's a picture of Sara's health tracker. You know, if you're a busy executive, 8 hours and 46 minutes of time asleep, not in bed, but asleep, is a gold mine. And a 58 resting heart rate is not bad either. So let's talk about how I use this protocol to help Sara lose over 20 pounds, dominate in the boardroom, have all-day energy while achieving peak mental acuity. We achieve these results without crash diets, drugs, ultra-intense workouts, or other extreme measures. And I think that that's something that's really common that I see in this industry is either an all-or-nothing approach that leads to some sort of isolationism or extremism, whether it be diet or extreme workouts, and that kind of behavior is not sustainable long term, and it also isn't appropriate for someone who is already so busy and already so stressed out. In fact, Sara said this program was easier than any program she'd ever tried before, but netted her the most results. And here's a screenshot of Sara's InBody. InBody is a body composition scan, a little bit less invasive than, say, a bod pod or a DEXA scan, but still fairly accurate. Uses bioelectrical impedance to measure these things. And you can see here, we had her scanned quite regularly, but this is a summation of a lot of scans. You can see weight decreasing steadily, skeletal muscle mass increasing steadily, and percent body fat decreasing. So as she was getting leaner, she was getting stronger, and the body composition was drastically improving. So really, really happy. Sara had tried other programs, but it always failed. She was burnt out and had no agency, despite being the boss. She struggled with family obligations, social interactions, and her libido, anything directly non-work related, was fraying at the edges. She was out of shape, overweight, and constantly thought about the way that she looked, which affected her confidence in high-pressure meetings. That may sound familiar. She dealt with constant low back pain and neck tightness, which affected her sleep, exercise, and her ability to work efficiently for long hours. She recognized she needed to change, but couldn't figure out what was necessary without wasting her time. She was constantly tired, but couldn't sleep well due to stress. So, an important note, are you rich or just wealthy? Sara thought by increasing her wealth, and therefore power over her own situation, would mean fewer problems. But with more power over your own situation comes more responsibility over everything that gives you that power. Now Sara felt like she wasn't in control, lacking the agency to make decisions in her own life. Her EA dominated her calendar, and she felt like she couldn't get a single second to herself. She wasn't alone, and this is how she fought back. So this is a body weight chart, and I should note here, and I probably should have noted earlier, that some names and notes and particular details have been altered to respect this person's anonymity because she is the CEO of a company that you probably know. This is a classic example of sustainable and healthy weight loss, non-linear but consistent. You can see here over time, this is running from the beginning of October to the beginning of February. Here is the complete system that I used to help Sara rebuild into an energetic, disciplined, and strong leader. And I would say, if you take away anything from this, these sort of 9 pillars of total health are the most important way that I can describe what health is to me and what matters. Think of it as your sort of 9 commandments of wellness. So we're going to break each one of these down. Daily readiness, which is HRV, resting heart rate and autonomic nervous system. Number 2, aerobic and anaerobic power cycles. 3, compound strength and hypertrophy protocols. Blood work testing for disease, hormones, and longevity. Sleep hygiene and circadian rhythm. Nutrition, hydration, and supplementation. Ergonomics and postural restoration. Scheduling freedom and stress management. And finally, meditation, mindfulness, and relationships. This might seem like a lot, but each tenet was implemented very slowly, methodically, and intentionally. I wanted as much of the protocol to be as automatic as possible, so Sara didn't feel overwhelmed at any one point, and so that she could focus on the stuff that really mattered, like crushing your business and spending more time with her family. I was essentially her fullback, clearing out the garbage so she could take it to the house and score touchdowns constantly. Let me show you the exact protocol. Feel alert, all-day meetings, finally have some autonomy in her daily life. So category 1, daily readiness. We used neurology as a measurable outcome. We used daily check-ins, heart rate variability to measure enthusiasm and stress. We would modify her total movement, whether that be in the gym or out of the gym, based on her readiness every day. That's a measure of neurology. Her resting heart rate to measure recovery, sleep quality, and intensity, whether that be intensity from a boardroom or intensity in the weight room. Sara's low back was an interesting and useful measuring tool. If we squeezed a little bit too hard in the weight room, or she was stressed out from a long flight or a disagreement with her husband, whatever, the low back would flare up, and we would use that as a measuring tool, not as a criticism or to be deprecating, but to use it as a tool to potentially modify future training sessions and where to go from there. We created an optimal but flexible morning routine so that she felt like she had some control right out of the gate as soon as she woke up in the morning. Meditation, mindfulness, and relationships were all part of her daily readiness. And that's also the last category that we'll talk about. Category 2, cardiovascular development. Conditioning, to me, is just another word for the amount of strength and power you can maintain without gassing out, whether it was psychological or cardiovascular. And it was interesting to reframe that with Sara so that she understood that conditioning wasn't just being sweaty at a Barry's class. Sara's breathing was extremely suboptimal. It was literally affecting the amount of oxygen in her brain. And with a combination of a cardiovascular training protocol, meditation, and sleep hygiene, her body and mind improved dramatically because we were literally forcing more oxygen into her system. Zone 2, steady state, also known as low intensity steady state protocol for improved mood regulation, sleep. ZOA, zone of apposition, which is just a fancy way of talking about the relationship between the skull, the pelvis, and the rib cage. Heart health and accelerated fat loss. Zone 4-5, anaerobic work, like things like sprints, to improve fitness, emotional resiliency, acid tolerance, and again, accelerated fat loss. My famous walk and work protocol allowed Sara to take calls while accumulating 10,000 plus steps per day, literally without breaking a sweat, which is essentially amounting to a walking treadmill underneath her desk at a 1 or 1.5 speed. And she was able to stay in her business clothes, take calls or take Zoom meetings, and was able to keep the metabolism burning throughout the day. And it was just such an easy way, low effort, to burn a ton of fat throughout the day without even really trying. When home, weekend walks with family allowed for improved socialization, sun exposure, and improved work-life balance. So she'd feel like she got in on Monday, felt relatively refreshed. Another way we had Sara accumulating steps was opting to walk from one meeting to another and have her driver just meet her there when she was in the city. All right, category 3, getting stronger. There was no doubt that Sara was weaker than she needed to be and literally did not have enough muscle in her spine to support her during investor meetings. So she was leaving money on the table with distractions of low back pain and confidence. And I suppose as we improved aesthetics, that helped with confidence as well. Her previous personal trainer had forced her to lift too much weight, and she had thrown her back out the day of a big meeting doing heavy deadlifts. And this was one of the reasons why I implemented the neurology as a daily readiness so early in the program, was that we could monitor how she was feeling coming up to a big travel event or a big meeting or something like that, so that we weren't necessarily increasing her risk profile unnecessarily. We attached manageable strength sessions to her work calendar, literally in her Google Calendar, that would evolve as needed with travel, stress, and availability. So if she were away in a foreign land, we could contact the hotel, say, what kind of situation gym do you have set up there? And we could design a workout for that. To that point, as needed, we trained via FaceTime sessions to dial in accountability and trading competency. This is all managed through my app, which we'll talk about later. These training sessions needed to be hypertrophic, but still firmly eustress and not distress. So depending on the exercise that we did, we would modify up or down depending on her readiness and depending on her mood. We created a foolproof series of 1-minute unlocking drills or unlocking stretches that she could do any time to feel re-energized, which is one of my personal favorites when she would send me pictures from a hotel in Singapore and she was doing the 1-minute unlocking drills and, getting ready for the meeting, which was just awesome to see. Within literally 3 sessions, Sara's back tightness had disappeared and her posture had noticeably improved. At the beginning, all we did was start with the absolute basics of, competent hypertrophy training with a little bit of functional fitness. And so it was a good way for her to feel like she was consistently improving at something, especially when she felt like she was just spinning her tires at work. And so we would gently progress each exercise up in a novel way so that she was still getting a muscular response without really getting a skeletal response. Again, not needlessly raising a risk profile while still getting a genuine muscle burn in the local muscle that we were training. Here's a screenshot of the app that we've developed. Every exercise and movement that Sara ever did was categorized and logged so that she could go in and say, what was the dumbbell push press thingy? And there was a video of it and the weight that she had used previously and the reps that she had done. And we were able to really see everything in a macro view so that she could see that she was genuinely making progress. So if she had a week where she didn't necessarily lose the weight she wanted to, or she had a stressful meeting, I could say, listen, we are making progress in this one field, and it felt like it was a really positive thing for her. Category 4, blood work and medical treatment. We utilized a local testing center to measure Sara's blood work quarterly. This was an effective way to regularly monitor her organ function and, with medical guidance, since I am not a doctor, take preventative measures against diseases and other maladies. I personally developed a rapport with her GP, who was awesome, and we were able to create a coordinated plan as opposed to differing opinions, which, depending on which side of the equation you're on, can be a frustrating experience, whether that be you're hearing two different opinions from either your nutritionist, your trainer, or your GP, or on our side, hearing different things from our clients and not knowing exactly what the GP said. So having a coordinated plan of attack is always the best option. We modified her nutrition based on cholesterol and blood glucose levels, again measured at the testing center. This blood work, along with her readiness screens, created an extremely holistic measurement of Sara's longevity and well-being, all without time-consuming or invasive procedures, which I think is really the goal. Like, can we get 95% of the way there? Can we get as complete a picture as we can without wasting this person's time who was already strapped to the gills? That was my approach to this. Category 5, catching Z's, finally. Sara could not sleep well and struggled to find a routine that worked. We worked off sleep meds, NyQuil, and melatonin. This program was just as much about trimming the excess fat in Sara's life because, to me, less is more. And there's a lot of examples of this in the program. We optimized the physical and spiritual atmosphere of her bedroom, temperature, bedding and mattress selection, scheduled shutdown time before bed, which was the work iPhone on Do Not Disturb 1 hour before bed, the personal iPhone 30 minutes, reduced brightness, personal mode on, night shift enabled, left her phones in the other room, magnesium carbonate 30 minutes before bed, no work discussed or thought about in the bedroom, which was an agreement between her and her husband. If you don't think about it, I won't think about it. We won't think about it together. A wake-up light, plus a white noise machine, plus an IMS, plus blackout curtains, and occasionally, if her husband was snoring, maybe earplugs. This is a graphic I made to represent the circadian rhythm, which I think is sort of misunderstood, but when I can stick to it, I feel the best. And we also discussed ways to beat jet lag during meetings in London or meetings in Singapore, things like that. Category 6, fuel to perform, not survive. With nutrition, we created a nutrition program that was essentially the same for an elite athlete in a contact sport. Given the intensity of these meetings and the rigor of her work schedule, I didn't see a huge difference between how I would prescribe a linebacker and this person to eat, other than actual volume of food. Our absolute principles were autonomy and portion control, with an emphasis on hydration and protein intake. Since business meals and travel were constant, we had to adopt a foolproof system that was applicable to any situation on Earth. Whether that was, hey, I'm going to this restaurant for a business dinner night, I need you to check out the menu and look at what are my options, what are the best options that I can make, or depending on the next point, when we developed a plan with our chef, so they shouldn't have to worry about meal decision points, we would figure out what other people in the house wanted to eat, and we would modify her plan based on that. A really common thing that happens with people in this field, as well as Sara, she would overeat and then underfuel, and this boom-bust cycle would give her uneven energy levels as opposed to smoothed out couple meals a day, really trying to create a consistent eating plan with a consistent amount of food. We slowly changed one thing at a time, implemented things such as the palm fill method, meal timing, calorie density, and eating pace, all really, really powerful tools that you can implement in your own program. Even though weight loss was important, her daily readiness was absolutely paramount. So we couldn't risk putting her in too great a calorie deficit that would absolutely cause her to lose weight, but also cause her to not be as focused in meetings or not be ready for training sessions, things like that, or big meetings, big travel throughout the world. So again, this body weight chart, really, really key. Very unlikely and very rare that you have true linear weight loss. This is much more common. Category 7, ergonomics and how not to slouch. So definitely something her and I talked about at length. Through a blend of desk ergonomics and strength training, Sara felt like she could crush all-day meetings while staying alert. Posture, to me, is not an end state, but rather the ability to tolerate forces of gravity. Your next position is your best position. And I think all the conversation about the perfect chair or the perfect position, I think represent an incomplete understanding of what posture is, which is how you're holding yourself in this second may not be an appropriate way to hold yourself in the next second. And movement is the key. We optimized her desk setup by getting a sit-stand desk, keyboard wrist rest, that's hard to say, scented candle, noise-canceling headphones, working shoeless when possible, increasing monitor height, improving lighting and eye position, all to optimize her focus levels. She was previously just on a laptop on a desk that was too low for her, and it was just sort of this slumped over position that wasn't really optimal. We broke down the tongue posture rabbit hole as it relates to work capacity, inflammation, and anxiety really quickly. Depending on where you rest your tongue should rest on the roof of your mouth, and jaw position can influence how much air you take in. It can influence your rib cage position, which can influence how much inflammation you feel in your body, anxiety due to lack of oxygen. We also physically put her work phone out of reach in a custom do not disturb mode that would allow calls from people who absolutely needed to reach her. With increased cardio fitness, strength, and weight loss, she was able to be upright for longer while resisting gravity through increased abdominal strength, increased lat and back strength. All modes of work, to me, this is something that we really broke down, incorporates elements of perception, memory, emotions, and learned behaviors. So we set up the desk and also the bedroom to a certain extent for optimal sleeping environment, step by step, so that Sara's sensory experience was optimized for work or sleep. She was able to work more efficiently and pain-free for longer. Category 8, stress and glucocorticoids. Stress affects every corner of your life, so professional management of symptoms really matters. And I think, if it's 2024 or 2025 and you think, I don't need that kind of stuff, I think it's an immature understanding of what human psychology and physiology is truly like. You're nothing more than a bundle of electrical signals in a bag of muscle, so trying to game the system is antithetical. Muscle length and pain receptors are signals from your brainstem which control your ability to perform. So the response to stress combines suppressive and stimulating actions of glucocorticoids, that's hard to say, for the ultimate goal of preservation of self, which is homeostasis. And we were able to see this firsthand with Sara because she would come into the gym or on FaceTime sessions, and we were able to see a direct relationship between lack of sleep and, let's say, overall stress with, say, the length of her hamstring. So muscle length, which is highly neurological, can be affected by things like stress, which increases your risk profile. For Sara, her chronically increased sympathetic tone, which is the fight or flight, as opposed to the parasympathetic rest and digest, was limiting her ability to perform, recover, had some GI issues, brain fog, rock bottom libido, and constant low-level fatigue, or like lethargy, right? Decreased white blood cell levels and inflammation went up, so she was sick more often, again, shown in the blood tests. Weight loss would stall. Levels of the hunger hormone rose, while levels of the satiation hormones, leptin, would drop, which would boost cravings. Meanwhile, metabolism was slow. So she was sort of at this thrown off ratio of the two. And so by having her sleep more and decrease her stress, she was actually able to burn more calories and have a greater amount of metabolism occur. And it was all good once we figured out to balance it out. We called it stress bod. We pulled Sara out of the stress cycle through a combination of delegation, meditation, nutrition, perspective shifting, and a host of other mediums, including heavy back squats. In reality, Sara's relationship and her focus on her autonomic and sympathetic nervous system was the ultimate linchpin of our entire system that we built. Everything fed into everything else like a mutually beneficial relationship that built an unstoppable momentum. Once this train left the station and once we passed across the Rubicon, there was no going back. Here's me lecturing on this exact topic. Stage 9, mindfulness and bravery. This was probably the hardest to implement because there's a little bit of that tough guy or suffering is necessary type of mindset in the industry. But once we got this one going, it was super, super powerful. Sara struggled balancing her personal and professional life. We slowly implemented meditation and mindfulness, even though she thought it was stupid and a massive waste of time. And I also find that there's a pretty direct relationship between those who think this way and those who subsequently benefit the most from it. Conscious efforts towards separation of church and state, that's the work-life balance, no thinking about it in the bedroom, and also not trying to think too much about personal implications while on business trips. As soon as she got into a rhythm of it, it became a complete staple and everything started to really click. Challenging weightlifting sessions were the only time she was exerting hard enough to not think about work. During our regular check-in calls, we worked through her struggles, balance, work, and play. It was all interconnected. This is something that her and I talked a lot about. What is your time really worth? So, what really matters and what doesn't for someone in this position? When we boiled it down to what we were actually doing, we were setting her free from our own chains, a liberalization from self-imposed structures. Because on one hand, and this was another sort of challenging thing to think about, this structure, this self-imposed structure, had given her a tremendous amount of financial freedom, lots of capital, the second house in the Hamptons, trust fund for the kids, but now this was the very thing that was handcuffing her to her desk until 9 p.m. on Friday nights. And so we had to systematically liberate her from her own struggle by making her better at her job, by doing it less often, making her fitter and able to handle more. She was essentially with a lot of stones and no birds, and we were changing that up to one stone for many birds. Improving rest quality drastically improves your ability to work. Without rest, maximal effort is simply not possible. Ignoring fatigue doesn't make you tough, it just makes you stupid. Fatigue is just a brain-derived emotion that regulates behavior to ensure the protection of homeostasis, which is the ultimate objective of the body we talked about earlier. Chronically elevated stress levels lead to staggeringly lower performance and a host of negative health outcomes. Stress, to me, is a killer of 1,000 faces. To get more done, you gotta work less, not more. Here are two ways, I've got these two graphics that to me are a great way of representing what I'm talking about. You have the movement, regulation, performance, readiness continuum. The ultimate objective is to create a sustainable ethos that promotes strength, well-being, longevity, resiliency, and the best version of yourself. And another one of a similar continuum, the sleep, relaxation, focus, and stressor continuum. Human biology excels best under short bursts of intensity followed by extended low-stress rests. The stronger you are, the more resilient you may become. And to me, this is sort of the best way that I can graphically represent my total health program. 3 categories with subcategories: the spiritual, emotional, and the biological. Spiritual, community and meditation, and ikigai. Ikigai, the Japanese term for the reason for being. Emotional, we have stress management, love, intellectual stimulation, resiliency, and financial security. Biological, I have toxin avoidance of both the digital and physical variety, strength and ergonomics, aerobic fitness, immunity, nutrition, and circadian rhythm with sleep hygiene. To me, this is the greatest way that one can measure their overall health or well-being. So that is our system, and that is the system that I built for Sara. You understand the system, and you're watching this video, you're ready to change. I have an offer for you. If you are an executive, leader, or founder that is motivated to improve their life, but you don't want to waste your valuable time, if you've traded your health for your wealth, but now you want it back, if you're sick of not having the physique that you want, the energy that you need throughout the day, and worrying about your longevity, I will guide you in achieving peak human performance, losing fat, gaining confidence, mental acuity, all while optimizing your energy and longevity. This is, in my opinion, the best program that is available for this type of coaching. I have not seen anyone else do it like I do, and I'm confident that I can get the results that you desire. Here are some clients who have had similar results, and I'm very flattered by the things they have to say. I appreciate your time watching this video, and I look forward to talking to you soon and reaching your goals together.